Recording, okay? All right, so hi guys, my name is Louise Parker of Louise Simply Fit, and I'm going to be talking with Nadene Hawker today from the Lost Trimester. And Nadene and I actually found each other through Instagram. I used to go to school 20 years ago with Nadine's husband, and I think actually my sister introduced me to the Lost Trimester. And I just kind of like went down that rabbit hole of Instagram and realized, right, I actually live in the US and I'm from the UK originally. And so we're 3,000 miles away, but really connected through our kind of shared journey of anxiety. Even though our journeys are very different, we still connected about the core kind of feelings of what anxiety is and how it feels. So, Nadene, do you want to just tell us a few things about yourself and what your journey has been so far?
Yeah, thank you so much, Louise. It's incredible, isn't it, how serendipity just happens like that. I still love that story today. So I set up the Lost Trimester because I think firstly it was sort of selfishly that writing about what I was going through postnatal really helped me not feel alone, and you know, connecting with other women to help them along the way was not only wonderful, knowing that I could perhaps chip away at someone else's, like, what on earth is going on, but also, as I say, I was really helping myself by setting that up. So basically it's just an Instagram page at the moment whilst I work on launching my website, which will be more information on my journey, but also how to beat anxiety in general. Basically, I've always had generalized anxiety, and I think that looks different for everyone. For me, I found that I would get it in formal environments, weirdly. So if I was around people that I didn't really know, or an environment that I didn't really know, but the thing that would really get me is if I couldn't escape. And I know that sounds strange, so I'll expand on it. But, so say if I went to the theatre, which I love, I'd have to sit on an aisle seat. I'd have to know that I could get out if I wanted to. Same as meeting rooms. I've always, you know, had a really good job with wonderful people and really enjoyed it. But there was always that element that I didn't address of, in a meeting room, I would need to sit near a door.
Can I just interrupt you? Sorry. You say that sounds like really weird, but I actually think it's kind of normal because
I should
anxiety,
say that. No one thinks it's weird.
No, I was going to say, like, anxiety is all about control, right? Like having to have that need to control. And so I think that you needing to control the situation is actually a really common form of anxiety.
Yeah.
And another thing that I was just going to say is that anxiety is so common. Right. And it's only when you actually start talking about it and sharing about it and talking to your friends and family, you actually realize how common it is. Even if you feel like you're the only person in the world that has it, you're not, because so many people suffer from it.
You are so right. As soon as I started putting my hand up and being honest about things, people that were, to me, the most confident person in the room were going, yeah, had that for years. This is how I feel. This is how I've dealt with it. And yeah, it's not weird. You're not alone. Nothing like that. But in your mind, of course, you're always so mean to yourself. You say these things and it's not true. And yeah, so that's sort of a very short story. You know, I had it since a little girl. As long as I can remember, I missed exams because of it. I wouldn't sit in an exam hall. And back in that time, you know, I didn't know how to address it. I didn't know how to talk to my parents, and I'm not quite sure they would have known how to deal with it anyway, if I'm really honest. And we're so lucky that now people are talking about mental health. It's not taboo to a certain extent.
Not taboo.
And nothing should be taboo, you know. And I don't know, like, there's more ways of addressing it now, and wonderful holistic ways of looking at how you can deal with the things perhaps that aren't sitting so well with you. So anyway, that was my sort of history with anxiety. And then strangely, so naively, should I say, I thought that because being a mum was something I've always wanted, my anxiety would actually probably calm down as a mum, because I couldn't wait. I was so excited. Pregnancy was my favourite memories, even through the morning sickness and everything. I loved it. And it's so different for everyone. I know women that hated it, and that's okay too. But for me, I loved it. And weirdly, my anxiety calmed down during that time, and I felt more in control. But I fell in love with her as soon as I was pregnant. But postnatal, I knew something was wrong as soon as I had her. But as a new mum, you're so worried that if you say something, it's the wrong thing to a professional. My biggest fear was, if I say how I'm feeling, will my baby be taken away? That's not going to happen. Everyone's there to help you. You're the mum. You need to be looked after just as much as that new little baby, if not more. Because everyone's going to be there for the baby, but it's so important you talk. But at the time I didn't know that, and every time I was being asked, how are you feeling, are you having any intrusive thoughts and things like that, of course I was like, no, I'm fine, and I was trying to plod through, still doing my hair and makeup, cooking, cleaning. I wouldn't do that the second time round if I had another one. But my first symptoms were intrusive thoughts, which again I found out.
Sorry, I was going to say, at what stage? Like right away after Ola was born?
So I would say when I took her home. In the hospital, I knew something wasn't quite right, because when I was in the hospital having her, again, I was really calm. I did hypnobirthing. I breathed through it, loved it. Obviously, it's agony. It's labor. It doesn't. It hurts. But
these endorphins, right? Like you're on a high, and then you come down from that high, and it's like, and especially like when postpartum, you have all of the crazy hormones anyway that are leaving your body, right? So even if you've never suffered from anxiety before, you're on this kind of like roller coaster of emotions and hormones anyway.
Yeah, and I had no idea about that. I'd very much prepared for the labour. I'd done this incredible course, and I
didn't even think about what happened after.
No, there's a human. I didn't know. Do I stay up watching her tonight? Honestly, it was ridiculous, the things that went through my mind. But yeah, basically I had this crash, as you say, of I didn't really feel anything. I kind of remember looking at her and Kuan sort of being very emotional and like so elate and just on cloud 9, and I just remember almost being shocked. I felt more shock than anything. And then the next day, after some sleep, I actually went to the local supermarket and brought us fresh food and drink.
Wow.
Fresh from my hospital bed, and the midwives were coming around going, where's your wife, is she okay? I was out getting this fresh food to have lunch, and I look back now and I think, wow, like what hormones were flying around to get me doing that. And it makes me a little bit sad as well. Like if I could just go back to that time, I think, oh God, I would have just held her and stared at her and taken it in. But you don't know what these hormones are going to do to you. And I think, so maybe that was the first signs, I don't know. But when I got home, I had these intrusive thoughts. I had thoughts of harming her. I didn't want to do it. I knew I wasn't going to, but they were very vivid. She'd be in her crib and I would be thinking, what if I do this? And it would be horrible things. I'd look at an appliance and think, what if I put her in it? Like, where on earth these thoughts came from, I don't know, but they are so common.
And have you ever had intrusive thoughts before you gave birth?
No, silly things like I love art galleries and I'd be in an art gallery and I think, can you imagine if I just got my lipstick out and drew on it? Those silly things. I used to think in my mind and laugh. I'd call it social Tourette's. I'd think, why do I want to do these things? you want to do them, but silly
Yeah.
things come to your mind.
Yeah.
But never scary, harmful things.
Yeah.
And I think, firstly, knowing that my friends, 2 close friends, had it too, but they hadn't told anyone. And they were fine. They didn't actually suffer with postnatal anxiety thereafter, but they did have these thoughts. But my wonderful health visitor had said, are you having any thoughts of harming her? And to me, I read that as, do you want to harm her?
Exactly.
So for me, I said, no, of course not. But they were there. And that, I think, was the first part. And I didn't realize how much they were traumatizing me. It's not nice to
you're
have those.
experiencing them, and you also have this massive guilt and shame and fear, right? So it's like, it's not just the one thing, it's like, it's multiple layers.
Louise, exactly that. It's nothing is black and white when it comes to mental health. You can't just say it's that and it will last this long and you're going to feel this way afterwards. We're all such.
I imagine that you didn't even dare tell your husband, right? Because like, you don't want him to think of you in a certain way, or like fear you being around the baby. It's like, there's so much like fear around it.
So much fear.
So much shame.
Absolutely. And obviously, when you are a highly sensitive person and you've already had a history of anxiety and you have that need for control, and you can't control these thoughts that seem to be popping into your mind, however much you know that you're going to not act on them, there's this why can't I control this? And that's all part of anxiety. As soon as you get into a very calm place and things are more on a plain sailing plane, fine, you get into a better place where you can control things and you do realize that that's all okay. But like you say, you've got these crazy hormones that are going breastfeeding, you've just given birth to a human, I mean, for goodness sake, all these things. And then life things like life stresses, job changes, or losses. There was numerous of things that happened after the birth of Orla that were very small and I would have coped with beautifully normally, but all these little things added up into this huge influx of anxiety, of stress, of trauma. And I realize now that it was trauma, because all these things did add up. And when I got to a point where I was riding more of a wonderful wave of no intrusive thoughts, loving where I was as a new mom, and breastfeeding was finally going a little bit better, that was hugely emotional. I thought you just popped them on and that was it. Lovely. No.
So I think we need to talk about that way more, like
that's
in
another
society.
vlog.
Yeah. But how long did that process take, like from giving birth and having these intrusive thoughts, almost right away, to okay, I'm now at a point where things are not better, but I have perspective? Like, what is that time period?
I mean, again, I wouldn't like to say that this is going to be the same for everyone, because
what was it for you?
Might be days, weeks, but for me it was about a month, I'd say.
Okay.
She was about a month old when I came to a point where I was just besotted with her, and breastfeeding felt amazing when it was working. It was up and down. So we decided to look for houses, because we wanted to move to the countryside from London, not too far, sort of a half an hour journey, and we're now in Hertfordshire. So we found this lovely home, which we're in now, and I was all excited. We went to the estate agents to sign the papers to move, and something in my mind knew this will be the thing that breaks you. It was too soon. It was too big a change, and anyone who else is a sensitive mind, change is a big trigger for anxiety. And obviously becoming a mum and being on this kind of almost false high, I wasn't quite there yet, had led me to make this big life change. And I remember saying to my husband, this will be the thing that breaks me. And I actually felt something in my brain click. I've always been incredibly intuitive. I can read my mind and body very, very well. I knew I was pregnant at conception, and when something clicked, I knew in my mind something wasn't right, and I said to my mum, I think I'm going crazy. And I'm so sorry to use that terminology because it's horrible,
but in the moment you do feel that way, right? Like you just
felt like I was losing control of my mind. There was something in my mind that was no longer the same as before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the depersonalization had activated, kicked in. It's a symptom of anxiety. It's what happens when you're in a car crash and you can't quite remember the details, or it's a brilliant way of your brain going, you've had too much stress, this is trauma, you can't take any more. I'm going to activate this almost like dreamlike. Yeah, something switches off, and that, I guess, is another vlog or blog to explain that in a bit more detail. But that's when it kicked in, sort of 2 months when we moved home.
Yeah. And Nadine and I were talking before this that we're really conscious of trying to keep this 10-12 minutes, because we both realize that when you are dealing with anxiety or depersonalization, or you're a new mum, we do not want to give you something else that overwhelms you. And so we could talk about this forever, but what we wanted to do today was really introduce you to Nadene and her experience, and just to let you know that it's okay if you're feeling these things, and it's okay that you are going to ask for help, and it's okay to ask for help. And we seriously encourage you to ask for help and to lean and tell somebody. You don't have to tell everybody, but you have to tell somebody. And just to give you hope that Nadene has been through some really, really tough, traumatic things, and all it is 2.5.
In September should be 2.
Okay. And Nadene is okay. She's surviving, she's thriving. And right now you might feel as though things will never be the same again, that you're changed forever, that things won't be okay, but they will be okay, and you can get through this.
Yeah, absolutely, Louise, and that's the message I think both of us want to get across, right? No matter what you're going through, there's always hope. There's absolutely always hope. No emotion was ever there to last forever. That's not how life works.
Exactly, good and bad, right?
Exactly.
Like that high from giving birth
can't last.
is not real anyway, right? Just like anxiety is not real, depersonalization is not real. Like these things, they're there for, it's like a roller coaster, and hopefully the roller coaster becomes more like this and more like this, but it's all normal.
Absolutely. And I know we're sort of going to call it time in a minute, but what I will say is a massive lesson that I've learned is I was always striving for happiness and great things, that like we all do. Now I've learned so much. I'm so grateful for this journey, because now I'm striving to find this. No matter what comes, I want to find that peace. I want to be the person in the room that someone comes to be with someone calm and peaceful. I don't want to be like this.
Right, exactly. All right, thank you so much, Nadene, for chatting with us today, and I'm looking forward to the next vlog. We'll be talking about so many other things. I'm looking forward to talking about depersonalization and learning more about that and your journey with that.
Take care, Lou. Bye, everyone.
Bye.